Hi everyone, how are you today? It's my absolute pleasure to be invited by the PMP and the Rights of Nature campaign to share my journey building Basically Borrowed and our approach to creating impact around fashion sustainability in the Philippines. After this talk, I'll also be sharing a couple of questions that I would like you to discuss and consider. Um, Okay, let's get to it. So, for the next 15 minutes or so, I'll be sharing what my team and I have built so far for Basically Borrowed, how we started it, and why I think community is not only a key strategy for our organization, but it should be a key component to most purpose driven businesses. I'll also then talk a little bit about our future plans to grow beyond the current business model and some of the easy ways that I think anybody can participate in the fashion sustainability movement. But first, I'd like to share a little bit about me. So, I'm a mother of two young girls and a first time startup founder. I've been living in the Philippines for about 5 years now, having moved here at the end of 2017. Before starting Basically Borrowed, I had an academic background in chemistry and have worked as a journalist in China. I've also led business development for a digital agency out of Singapore. The greatest thing about starting Basically Borrowed for me is that I get to learn new things about a new industry in a completely new market every single day. So, what exactly does Basically Borrowed do? A lot of people are asking us the same question. In a nutshell, we are a resource hub and an online community with a mission to help people make greener choices, starting from fashion. So, in other words, we have a very simple goal, which is to make sustainability easy so that more people can participate in it. Our first step was to create a content hub on Instagram. So if you look at our Instagram page at Basically Borrowed, you can find content like how to find a sustainable pair of shoes that are locally made that are within your budget, or you can even see heated discussions in the comments about whether ukai ukai is ultimately sustainable. By delivering consistent and high quality content, we are attracting a growing young audience who now look to us as an important source of guidance and information. This has also been absolutely central to our community centric strategy. So, besides content, we are also a bridge that connects brands in our audience who are predominantly young, very passionate, sustainability conscious fashion consumers. So, one example of our work with brands was the denim upcycling workshop that we co organized with Levi's Philippines in the last just 2 months ago. It's one thing to read about how to upcycle fabric waste. It's actually being handed the materials and working on real projects with others next to you brings a whole new perspective. And it instantly makes the act of repairing and upcycling seem like something that anybody can share and participate in. So besides that, we also lend our platform and our voice to smaller local brands who are innovating in this space. Adding to our content hub and brand partnerships, our Facebook communities are an important channel for like minded people to connect directly. So, this is the place where you can ask questions like, where can I find the best alteration shop in Alabang? Or I have this purple shirt that I never wear because it's not my usual color. Any ideas on how to style it because I don't want to throw it away? What we've learned is that people love to help each other out, and that while fashion and lifestyle are ultimately very personal choices, there is a powerful sort of communal aspect to them that it's that's key to the decision-making process when it comes to fashion purchases. So, how did Basically Borrowed start? What's our story? I launched Basically Borrowed website in September of 2019. When we first launched, it was an online business selling pre-loved clothes. So at the time, I was new to the Philippines and I was still going through this very big transition from having a demanding career in Singapore to being a full-time mom in the Philippines. So I started Basically Borrowed as a little experiment to partially address a personal need, which is to somehow utilize my now idle wardrobe by sharing it with others. Slowly, we started to accept consignments from other women who were seeking to use our platform to resell or to rent out their underused clothes. Our consignment business was growing steadily but fairly slowly in the first few months. Then the pandemic changed everything for us. First, it made us a non essential business, so I had to go back to the drawing board and use this downtime to reconnect with our customers. Why did these women buy from us? Was there a deeper reason beyond consumerism? Over many one on one chats and conversations, I began to see a pattern. The pandemic was shifting mindsets. As people spent more time at home and looked at all their belongings, they began to see the impact of overconsumption, the massive clutters in their closets. For many, that was the beginning of their sustainable awakening and sustainable journey. After realizing that, I recentered the Basically Borrowed brand around the mission to encourage sustainability and to create a strong community around this advocacy. And today, it's still the same passion that gives me and my team the sense of purpose to keep growing and evolving the Basically Borrowed platform. So by now, you know that community has been essential to everything that we do. So why do we think it's so important? One thing we've learned early on from our community was that people were the happiest when giving instead of taking. We see it in the joy when someone finds a second home for her old clothes at our swap parties. We see it in the many spontaneous discussions that are happening on our Facebook groups. We see it in the surveys where usually 2/3 of the respondents would prefer events where they could have actively participate and share. Sharing and participation are not just a source of contentment and happiness. They also give us a sense of belonging and at the same time a sense of ownership. So here I've summarized 3 of the key benefits of our community approach. In particular, I really want to highlight the importance of the individual. For us, a community is only possible when each and every individual is valued and plays a role. And that's really the basis on which we can then maximize our social impact and, from a business perspective, enjoy economies of scale. So now that we've established ourselves as a resource hub and a growing sustainable fashion community, what's next for Basically Borrowed? I have to apologize that I can't divulge too much on what we're building right now. But what I can reveal is that it's going to be a highly curated and accessible fashion marketplace where every user is encouraged to participate in a meaningful way. With this new part of Basically Borrowed, we want to again leverage on the power of community in creating a fun space for people to enjoy sustainable fashion. So how can you get involved? If you do want to get involved and be part of our community, you're welcome to follow us on Instagram. So here's our Instagram handle. It's just at basically borrowed, and you can also join our two Facebook groups. We've also recently launched our Medium blog, which is a place where we'll be publishing longer form analyses and investigative pieces about sustainability issues, especially in the Philippine context. So there are also many other ways you can be a responsible and mindful fashion consumer. Simply by asking yourself, is this something I really need, or is this something I want but I don't need? Or by exploring secondhand options first, you'll really be making a huge difference. By the way, if you believe in our mission and would like to contribute to our cause, our team is always open to new talents. Send us an email with a brief description of yourself and how you'd like to work with us to start the conversation. Okay, that's a wrap. I hope you've learned something new from my basically borrowed journey so far. I want to leave you with a quote. There are only two choices: do nothing or do something. Thank you so much. Oh, by the way, here are the questions to consider and discuss. What are some of the sustainable fashion practices you were familiar with when growing up? Are they still relevant today? If not, how can they be made relevant today? And two, what are the most important factors to creating and growing a community around a common interest or a social cause?